Just as a little introduction, here at the Hollywood Torah Center, we provide multiple learning, educational, and program activities for all ages, from little kids all the way till young ladies like yourselves.
Oh.
Which is not that far. Did you assume otherwise?
Never.
The boys, girls, middle school boys, high school boys, young couples, young professionals, the whole gamut. Anyone who wants to know more about our Torah Center, you can grab one of these. And anyone who wants to know Shabbat in and out times and holiday in and out times, you can grab one of these. Yes, okay, we'd like to thank tonight's sponsors and everyone's generosity. Tonight's class is sponsored by Jacob El Sarur in memory of Jacob's father, Yitzhak ben Abraham, which is Yartzeit is this coming week. So, may the Shem have an earlier. Thank you very much. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Jacob and Michael being here for sponsoring our entire month's learning for the month of January. Thank you very much. And may there be tremendous merit for you, for your children, and for the entire family. Thank you very much. Thank you to Yaakov and Aida Heina, pronounced properly. New bride and groom, Mazal Tov.
Mazal Tov.
How long ago was the wedding?
4 months ago.
4 months ago. And I haven't seen you since then, so it's great to see you. Then we'd also like to thank from Montreal, Hannah Smilovici.
Yes,
who is sponsoring tonight's class in memory of her father's Yartzeit, Yosef ben Nisimi, and Neshama have an aliyah. Thank you very much. And it's tonight, yes. Last but not least, David Edery is sponsoring tonight's women's class in honor of all the women, or the amazing women in his life. Number one, in memory of his mother, Mercedes Serfati, and in honor of his dear wife, Ingrid, also in honor of his 2 daughters, Eliana and Malta, and also in honor of his sister, Donna Edery. Thank you very much. And with no further ado, all the boring stuff out of the way, now the fun stuff, I'd like to introduce you to my mother. Has everyone met my mother before? No. So I'm going to give a quick intro. It's like weird to introduce your mother, but who better not? Thank you. Actually, when we posted the flyer for this class, another synagogue in Bal Harbor texted me, "Oh, I see your wife's giving a class at your Torah Center. Could she teach by us also?" I said, "She could teach by you, but that's my mom." So a big compliment to my mom, or just I look really bad and old. It could be both. So my mom, how do I introduce my mom literally very quickly? My mom is she's the driver of our family. She's so smart that she makes my father think he's driving when she's really driving. And like a smart wife, she makes him think that he makes the decisions, but no, she makes every decision. And when her and I, when I was 13, 14, and 15, and I started flipping out and becoming more religious, so my partner in crime was my mother. And with a lot of opposition from my father and the rest of our family members, to her credit more than anyone, because I just lit the spark, but to her credit, she literally turned our entire family and road raged all the way to a different way of life. And very thankful, and she had a lot of nachat from her children, her grandchildren, and from all of the amazing ladies that studied with her or from her online and in person all around the world. She's taken many trips of ladies to Israel on amazing Israel trips. She has Tehillim groups along with Elise. She has other online and live classes which are amazing. And last but not least, she'll be speaking a little bit more about it. She has come out for the second year in a row. This is their second edition of her special women's agenda. It's really, really cool. I'm sure she'll speak a little about it towards the end. And there are some for sale. They are $30 a pop, and they're well worth it. They're really cool. Agendas are very specific, very unique, but this agenda's got, I think, something for everyone and everything for someone, if that makes any sense. It's really, really special, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the class as well as taking a look at her agenda. Thank you very much, Mom. Welcome.
Thank you. especially here in the community. It's just wonderful. I see the pictures from the Motzei Shabbos Avot Banim learning on Saturday nights, and it's just incredible. Like, this place is packed. So it's very much along the line of what I want to talk about. So I'm going to jump right into it. So the title of our talk is The Jewish Woman's Power Being the Foundation of the Home. And you must know this because you're all amazing and you came out tonight to learn some more. So for sure you know it. But I'm going to review some fundamentals quickly, and then I'm going to build. I'm going to build, and I'm going to be back again in February, and we're going to do a second level class. Okay, we're going to get really serious because we're in serious times. We don't want to fast on Tisha B'Av. We fasted today, that's it. We're not going to let this happen anymore. And what we have to do is, we know it's written in the Torah that B'zchut Nashim Tzadkaniyot, we left Egypt. It was thanks to the righteous women that we left Egypt. And we know that just like everything that's written in the Torah, the history is going to repeat itself. Because whatever is in the Torah is an example for us on how are we going to do in the Galut, how are we going to do in our exile, how are we going to make it to the final redemption. Well, all the answers are in the Torah. So let's go step by step. So women and men are created differently, okay? But we need each other. And we know this because when God created the first man, he created him both male and female. And we know that. And then he put him to sleep because Adam needed a partner. He saw in nature that every creature, every animal had a partner, and he didn't. So he wanted a partner as well. And so God put him to sleep, took a piece of his rib out, which gives us a lot of lessons, and I know my son has spoken about this, plus a lot of teachers have spoken about it. That's our element of tzniut. You know, we're hidden underneath the arm, but we're fundamental. You can't live without your ribs. It would be super painful. And so, we're here as an ezer, a helper, but the pasuk goes ezer kenegdo. I remember when I first learned that, I thought, what a chutzpah. You're a helper, but you're against him? But it's very important because a woman has an extra level of bina. And she sees things like an understanding. She sees things that her husband doesn't see. So he's going to come home and he's going to say, no, we have to do this. And she says, that doesn't sound very safe for the kids. And he said, well, I thought it was a great idea. No, because she is a keret habayit, responsible for the home. She's the eshet chayil. She is what Rashi calls the bait herself. She's the home. In the olden days, very olden days, a husband would call his wife my home, biti, bati. That was my wife, because she builds everything that I own. And everything that I have is thanks to her. She's the vessel that holds all the blessings that God wants to give me. So if you haven't figured it out, you are so important. The Jewish woman is essential to the Jewish people. We know. How can you be Jewish if your mother was Jewish? That's the most important. So what is our job as a Jewish woman? What do we want to do? What are we guarding? If we are the foundation of the home, what are we guarding? What are we protecting? So, here we go. Shabbos is very important, right? Shabbos is Kodesh. Shabbos is the culmination of creation. God created the entire universe in the 6 days, and on the 7th day he rests. And we, the Jewish people, we are here as edim, testimony. We are the witnesses pasuk goes, Shabbat mekor kol haberachot. Shabbat is the address where all the blessings come. The days before Shabbat are blessed, the days after Shabbat are blessed. Everything comes from Shabbat. Here, when we have our Seudot Shabbat, when we have our meals, Friday night, we take 2 challahs, the father of the house takes 2 challahs, and he makes a blessing. And we do then Birkat HaMazon. These 2 challahs bless Sunday, Yom Rishon, and Yom Sheni, Monday. Saturday morning, after coming back from the Hollywood Torah Center's amazing morning services, you go home and you have your Seudah. That meal, again, the father of the household holds 2 challahs. We bless on the bread and we do Birkat HaMazon, the blessing after the bread. And that Seudah, that meal, blesses the next 2 days of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday. And Mincha is something that sometimes women, they don't want to do Seudah Shlishit after Mincha and before Arvit. Because we're on a diet, we don't want to eat, whatever the circumstances are. You're too tired, you're going out for lunch, whatever it is. But you should know that you should still do it. Because you know how it always happens and we say, I can't seem to finish the week. I started off okay, but by the end of the week I'm short. So we're short because we didn't bless Thursday and Friday. When we do Seudah Shlishit, the 3rd meal on Shabbos, we bless Thursday and Friday, then we end the day very well. And Shabbat is blessed when we do Melav Malka. A woman has 3 special mitzvot that are her obligation. And I know you know them, but to save time, I'm just going to enumerate them. The first one is the lighting of the Shabbos candles and the Yom Tov candles. It's the woman who brings in the Kedusha. When we light the candles, we invite the Shekhinah, God's presence, into our home. The second big mitzvah that belongs to the woman is challah making, when she does hafrashat challah. We're going to touch upon that a little more. I just want to give you the 3rd example, and then we're going to break them down. The 3rd big mitzvah that's entrusted to the Jewish woman is taharat hamishpacha, family purity, which is going to the mikveh on time and all the laws that are associated with that mitzvah. And all of these occasions are her power. Why? Because she has a moment to pray. Now, how many men does it take to pray in a minyan? Who can tell me? 10 men. Why do 10 men have to get together to pray in a minyan? Well, maybe that's too much. So I'll give you the answer. Okay? They pray because together they want God's rachamim. They want the mercy of God so that they'll be blessed for everything that they need. Their health, their livelihood, their marriage. If they're not married, to get married. If they're married, they don't have kids, they have kids. There's always a reason to pray. So the men come together, they need 10 of them. Part of the reason is because they're correcting the sin of the spies. But that's not our subject tonight, so we're just going to put it aside. But look at the power of the Jewish woman. The Jewish woman alone, in the 3 instances that I mentioned, brings down the Shekhinah, God's presence, and has a moment to pray and to ask for anything that she wants. That's very powerful. So that means that these are the 3 mitzvot that we need to sharpen all the time. Because I see wonderful women that seem to me that are upholding all of Torah and mitzvot. But I want to suggest something foundational. You must add simcha and passion to the observance of the mitzvot. This is the problem that we're having today. Too many of our children hear us complaining as we're preparing for Shabbat, for the holidays. Everything seems to be such a terrible, difficult task. And they're watching us. And this is a problem. Ladies, it's a problem. That's why kids fall, one of the reasons why kids fall off the derech. Because it's heavy to be Jewish. That's why we don't push for conversions. We don't go out there and recruit people. No, because they're better off being B'nai Noah who keep 7 mitzvot and they get all the schar that's available for them than to be a Jew that doesn't hold up the mitzvot. We have a big responsibility. So as mothers, we need to make sure that everything that we're doing at home is filled with simcha. And when we can, and it's not a Yom Tov or it's not Shabbos, add music. Add Jewish music. Because the kids feel our energy. Mother is not only the foundation of the Jewish home, she's the atmosphere of the home. If mom's happy, everybody's happy. If mom's not happy, nothing goes right. Everyone feels it. Dad can't even work if mom's not happy. So, we need to make sure that we are guarding the Kedusha, the holiness of our homes. Because we are Jewish. We cannot look at the world at large and get the example of how to raise our kids. That's not going to cut it. Because we want our children to be Jewish, to marry Jewish, for our grandchildren to be Jewish. In order to continue to remain this descent, to have this descendant assured, we need to make sure that everything is done properly, but with tremendous amount of joy and simcha. Now, we saw the examples, and we learn them all the time, of our foremothers. And that's very important. And when we talked about before how we, as the wife, is an Ezer Kenegdo, we saw how Sarah Imenu noticed that Ishmael was going to be a problem with Yitzchak. And he was going to be a negative influence on her son. She didn't want his midot. She saw that this was going to be a problem, and she said it. She had the boldness to say it, and Abraham asked God, like, what am I going to do? And God says in the Pasuk, listen to Sarah, your wife. And guess what? Women use that all the time on their husbands. It's written in the Torah, you have to listen to me. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that the woman knows what she needs to do. And the only way you're going to know what you need to do is continuously learning. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself. It's not written in my papers, but I feel like sharing, because I think that then we're going to get a little bit more of a feel of it's not easy. I'm not telling you to do something that's super easy. I know it's hard to be an observant Jewish woman in today's day and age. But I'm going to tell you how it served me well. So I was raised in a beautiful, loving home to two Israeli parents. My father was born in Morocco, but he moved to Israel when he was like 9 years old. And my parents grew up there. And Israelis feel that they belong to the land, so they don't have to keep Torah and mitzvahs. Don't give me stipulations, don't give me rules. I'm Israeli. I'm okay. So we grew up secular. But when we moved to Canada, my father, of course, went to synagogue. He went on the high holidays, I should say more precisely. And I remember going as a little girl. We're just two sisters, two daughters, my sister and myself. So when we were young enough, we would go, and I remember Yom Kippur, and I'd be under my father's talit. And these are very strong and vivid memories. Fast forward, we're not observant, We don't keep any of them, so we don't keep Shabbat. It's time to get married. So, we weren't regular synagogue goers, even, but we did have a shul that we were members of. So my mother and I went to the local synagogue that had just renovated their party hall room, not their reception room. So we went, and they showed us around, and then the lady, the secretary, said to us, well, you'll need to speak to the rabbi now, and then we'll reserve the date for you. So we were very happy, and we said, okay, and we went to the rabbi's office, and we sat down, and he said, how does everything look? And we said, very good. And he says, do you have a chazan? And we said, no. We could use the chazan of the shul. He was very happy. He says, and do you have an officiating rabbi? And we said, no. He said, so I'll officiate. And I said, well, we're very happy. Thank you, Rabbi. And then he said, and please, he looked at my mother, he said, and please, make sure that you bring me a certificate that your daughter went to the mikveh. And we held our breath for a moment, and then my mother quickly recovered, and she said, yes, of course. And we left. We walked out, and we didn't say anything to each other. As we walked out and walked toward the parking lot, I looked at my mother and goes, let's go. And she said to me, listen, I only went once in Israel for my wedding, and never again. I said, oh boy, I got some learning to do. So I was a very good student. How much I have to give credit to my parents. They were on top of me in school. I was an excellent student, and I said, gotta do research, gotta do homework, gotta figure this out. I was all of 21. Okay, so I found the number of the local mikveh, and I went to see the mikveh attendant. And the Rebbitzin was so amazing. She gave me material to read, and she sent me home. And I read everything, and I wanted to do everything perfect. And I was so happy when we had that certificate from her. We gave it to the rabbi. It was just amazing. And then, the next day after the wedding, I'm thinking, wow, we're going to keep a kosher home, which we did at home, and we're going to keep Torah HaMishpacha, but I never spoke to my husband about this. And you could imagine, that was not easy. What do you mean, 2 weeks I can't touch you? I didn't bargain for this. What are you talking about? And my husband knows I always apologize before leaving the house to give a speech, like a talk, because he knows his ears are going to be buzzing, because I'm always talking about where we come from. But it's okay, it ends nice. But it wasn't nice at the time. He called my parents after 2 weeks. I was so embarrassed. He said, you have to come over. And they came over. And they thought they were coming over for a very nice announcement. But instead, I said to my parents, listen, your daughter went crazy. I don't know what to do. I don't want any of this. Please talk to her. My mother takes me to the other room. She goes, what's wrong with you? I said, what do you mean what's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? Nobody has to do this. I said, but Jewish people do this. She goes, but you don't have to be religious. Nobody in our family is religious. Just be good. Just listen to your husband. Forget about it. Now, it wasn't easy. My friends know it was not easy. And every mitzvah I wanted to keep came with tears and sweat and fighting. A lot of that. And not once and not twice, 3 times, my husband called my parents and threatened to divorce me. And one time, I have to tell you this because it was very, very heartbreaking. I really wanted to cover my hair fast forward. And I was tired of covering my hair with just a hat and having the rest of my hair out. And my husband didn't like it, so I would have to take it off when he was around. And it was just so terrible. And I had an occasion to get a wig without telling him. And I put it on one day on Shabbos, and I was so happy. I was so happy that I was completely covered. And it was Shabbos. And I went to the park in front of our house, was turning all red and he says to me, are you wearing something on your head? And I knew by the tone of his voice that he was not happy. And I wasn't blinded. And he grabbed my arm and we walked back home. And we went into the house. And my father was with us for Shabbat that day. And my husband was very upset. And he said, take it off. No. And I never want to hear about this again. And I ran upstairs to my room and I closed the door and I started to cry. You're not allowed to cry on Shabbos. But I started to cry because I was so embarrassed because my father was in the house. And then I hear a knock on the door. And I was like sobbing. And I said, who is it? And he says, see, it's Abba. Open the door. I had to open the door. And he says to me, honey, Big T, my daughter, your head is covered in Shemayim. You need shalom light. It's okay. But cover your head when your husband is not around. But when he's around, you can't go against him. He's not ready. That was a hard moment, ladies. A very hard moment. But we survived. We survived. And when we had to do the bar mitzvah of our second and third and fourth son, we did it in Israel. And when we went to Israel, and along these times, my husband grew. He grew thanks to a very smart rabbi, Rabbi Hashem ben Eliel, who lives in Israel and had a very long and prosperous life. One day, I said to my husband, you need to speak to somebody. It's not normal. I'm not asking for things that are so difficult. This is what Jewish people are supposed to be doing. He goes, I don't want any of this. I said, please speak to the rabbi. He goes, it's not my problem, it's your problem. You go speak to the rabbi. I was very embarrassed. I had to go. So I went to the rabbi, and of course I put on my hat in the car. And I go see the rabbi, and my heart was down, and I said, Rabbi Hashem, I'm so sorry to come and to tell you Lashon Hara about my husband. He goes, what is it? I said, well, Rabbi, tell me, what is it? I said, my husband doesn't always cut my hair. And I don't know what to do. And you know what he said to me? He said, you have to listen to your husband. But when you come to shul, if you could cover your hair, that would be very nice. But listen to your husband. So I was deflated. I walked in the house like this. I figured I didn't move a step. I didn't move a step forward. So my husband's in his office study, and I walk in the door, and of course he's angry at me, so he didn't come to the door to greet me. And from across the other room, he calls out, he says, so what did he say? So what did he say? He said, I have to listen to my husband. 2 seconds later, I hear him say, he's a good rabbi. The next day, my husband goes to the rabbi's minyan, and he stays for the shiur. Now I'm going to give you the fast forward. My husband has a shofar that belonged to his grandfather. Is it grandfather or great-grandfather? Somewhere about there. A 200-year-old shofar. And he's very good at blowing it. And after years of studying with the rabbi and going to shul, he tells the rabbi, Rabbi Hashem, I want to blow the shofar on Yom Kippur. And the rabbi says to him, Moshe Chaim, my husband's Hebrew name, do you keep Shabbos? So of course I keep Shabbos. He goes, you keep kosher 100%? You don't eat out from restaurants? No, of course I keep kosher. I eat what my wife gives me. And then he says, does your wife cover her hair? better. It looked more like my hair. You have to spend a little more money. And I had some highlights put in, so you sort of didn't recognize. And I tried again, and I put it on. And we went out, I went shopping. And it was the first time I wore it. I just had come back from the hairdresser. She cut it, she styled it, everything was beautiful. And as he walked to another counter, and I felt like I had to, you know when you first wear a wig, you just don't know how it sits. So you always like playing with it, so I was playing with it. And in that moment, he turned around and caught my eye. And I go like this. And when we finished, we got into the car, and he says, okay, what am I going to tell my parents? Because there wasn't their values. So I said to him, you know what? You're not going to say anything, and they're not going to notice. And when they notice, they're going to respect that these are the choices that we made. And that's exactly what happened. But this took years. So why did I tell you this? First of all, because I felt like I can't stand here and tell you, Torah says you have to do this, and Torah says that the woman has all the obligation, and this is what we have to do. If some people are not doing everything, I can't say that to you unless I've been there. Unless I've been there. Unless I was ignorant and had to learn.
Is a black BMW that's ringing outside?
What?
Black BMW, the alarm is going
Alarm's
off.
ringing. Sorry.
The lights on.
Continue, sorry.
It's okay. Maybe just, yes. Of course, we don't want to wake up the neighbors. So, all this to say is, what woman wants, God wants. Woman runs the house. Woman rules. Doesn't matter who's making more money. Doesn't matter who's stronger. Woman rules. In her soft way, she could rule. She makes all the decisions at the end of the day. What was that wedding? I don't like to quote, the other nations, but it was so powerful. What was it? That Greek wedding, right? Yeah. And it was about the neck and the head. He thought he was the head and she was the neck. He couldn't do anything if she didn't let him. It's really like that. And all the nations have another saying for that. So we really do have power. What's important to me is that you use your power properly. So now I want to introduce, if we have time, we do have time, two major concepts to bring all of this together, and then we're going to jump into what are we going to do. Okay. So these concepts I learned from a very dear teacher of mine. Her name is Esther Wien. She's in New York. Maybe some of you know her. Excellent, excellent teacher. And I had the privilege to have learned with her over COVID. So one of the rabbis in our city, Rabbi Saba, he says, Gam Zoom letova. Zoom was very good for a lot of people. It was the only way we could continue to communicate, to learn, to grow, not to feel so isolated during that, whatever that episode that we all went through. Thank God that it's behind us. So, Mora Esther Wien taught us this beautiful concept of what's my relationship with God? So, we've done this exercise, but I'd love for you to do the exercise. If I gave you a blank sheet of paper and I asked you to draw two circles on the paper, one circle would represent God and the other circle would represent yourself. How would you draw those two circles? I'm going to give you a minute to think about it.
Can you say that
That's
again?
good. One good answer. One on top of the other.
They would be intertwined.
One intertwined. Which one?
One into the other one.
Okay, yes, like the other one said. So like a one. So explain better because not everyone gets that one.
Like one, the big one, like God, and inside.
Oh, that's nice. You put them inside.
Yes.
So we get a lot of answers. I love asking this question because I get to see how people are thinking. So a lot of people say one big one on the top of the paper and another little one underneath. That's not Jewish philosophy. Okay? Then some people say one where there's a part where they're together. And that's not Jewish either. That's like you eat kosher at home and then you eat kosher at the house. No. The answer is exactly the one big circle. It would actually take up the entire paper. So it wouldn't have to be a circle, and one sheet of paper. It would take up the whole paper, and then you would be a circle inside. Doesn't matter the dimension. And then what that means is she would be a circle in there as well, and she would be, and she would be, and each one of us would be in that circle. This means to say that we live and exist in the greater existence of God. Where do we see an example of an existence within an existence in life?
Pregnancy.
Beautiful! Women always get this right. Imagine a woman is pregnant and there's a baby in her. And because of the natural laws and the way Hashem created the world, the baby is always fed, right? Through the umbilical cord. Does the baby ever have to say, hello, I'm hungry right now, where's the food? No. It's a continuous feed. So the mashal is the mother and the baby in the mother, and the nimshal is us in God. Why is this very important? So that means to say, if Eileen is in this world, and I'm in this world, and all of you are in this world, do I have to fight for my needs? That's not Jewish law. That's not Jewish philosophy. We each have an individual feed. Mother God is unlimited. Just because you'll get everything that you need, it doesn't mean there's less left for me. This is very important because this tells me I could never be jealous, hurtful to anybody for anything that they have because it doesn't belong to me. Because then I don't believe that I exist within the greater existence of God. I will never speak badly about anybody because there's no point in that. I'm not going to get more. Actually, I'm going to get less. Because I want to uphold shalom. Shalom is that vessel for blessings. So I'm not going to start talking badly about anybody. I'm not going to do lashon hara. I'm not going to say, did you see that new car she just got? Did you see that jewelry she just got? Who cares? If that's what makes her happy, that's what makes her happy. There's plenty of cars out there, lots of jewelry out there. Nobody cares. You have to remember this because your kids are always watching. So if it's not because you want to be a blessing, a vessel for blessings, then at least be conscious that your kids are watching you. And the truth is that we need to learn, constantly be learning the laws of Shmirat HaLashon. Because it's so easy to slip. What we think is essential is not essential. You know, the truth is that if you thought about it, we should be doing very little talking. There's not much to talk about. Unless you talk about Torah ideas. We don't talk about people, we talk about ideas. And it's very, very important. And I know that it's a sore spot. I know that it's a sore spot because sometimes we feel like, but we just want to share that information. It's a good thing. No, it's unnecessary. It's things that don't need to be talked about. Because I can say, you know, she's married this guy, he's really, really nice. And then there's another person in the room that is, he's not so nice. Did you read it? And I started it. So that's not good. Not good for me. Not good for the person who says the bad stuff. And not good for the person we're talking about. So everyone's a loser. So a smart woman who builds a good home watches that balance. Because it's very important. And what we want to do as well is we want to foster Ahavat Yisrael. And that starts at home. With our husbands, with our children. Look for the good in people. Don't look for what's wrong. something wrong for us perfectionists. There's always going to be something wrong. Don't look for that. Look for the good. Look for the good and emphasize that and highlight that and compliment them for that. And you're going to get more of it. That's how it works. So we have to be the model first and foremost for Ahavat Yisrael and for the Shalom. Don't make a fight about everything. Even if it's not going your way, even if they don't listen. I want to give you the second piece before I continue with the points. The second big mashal is the glass blower. And this is how it goes. When the glass blower is creating the beautiful art pieces made out of glass, he or she blows the air that's in them. And then they create the art piece. So we know, we see in Bereshit how God created Adam and Isha. And this is very important. So in Bereshit 2, Pasuk 7, Onkelos says, when God blew into man's nostrils, he gave him the soul of life, Nefesh Chai. He gave man the power of speech. We are differentiated from animals because we have Da'at and Dibur, which all other creations do not have. And we know, while we're on this point, that God created the entire universe with 10 ma'amarot, 10 utterances, like words, if you will. Okay? And I just want to make a little caveat. God does not have a mouth, does not have a body. These are just terms that we use to better understand, but God is outside of that realm completely. We cannot really understand what God is, but we are trying to know Him. That's the mitzvah, to get to know Him and to emulate His ways. And we can only know Him through the book that He gave us, through the Torah, both the written and the oral Torah. So, I don't want anyone to walk away and say, Sigalit Loreno said, God speaks. God doesn't speak like we speak, but He gave us the power to speak. Now, look how beautiful this is. Another thing that God did was He took earth and He took some dew, water. And the Torah tells us, and He made man. Look how beautiful this is. The language in the Torah is lash. Lash means to knead, like the baker kneads the dough. That's part of why we have the mitzvah of challah. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you notice the word lash, it's like lashon. That's the tongue. So what Onkelos is coming to tell us now is this. We need to mix very well our da'at before our dibur, before our speech. Very, very powerful. And in such a way, we will create shalom in our homes, shalom amongst Klal Yisrael, and that only brings more blessings. And who knows, that might bring final redemption. And we won't have to fast on Tisha. So now we're going to quickly bring the connection together. I want to touch a little bit about the mitzvah challah for a moment, just because I know that a lot of you bake, and if you don't bake, try to bake. I know my daughter-in-law teaches challah baking classes. She's amazing. When she'll have time after the last beautiful baby, Baruch Hashem, Mazal Tov. And when we give challah, first of all, challah is such an important connecting mitzvah to connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's that opportunity where we get to speak to God. So when you do that fasha, you can pray for anything and everything that you want. That's the time to ask God for what you need. If your children are not behaving, aren't behaving, if you need to choose a school for them, anything that's on your heart, that's when you're allowed to talk to God during our 3 bid mitzvah and all the time when we pray. So when we take challah, when we do the hafashat challah, we're learning to be givers. And that's one of the foundational reasons for the creation of man, to be givers. Just like God is a giver, we need to be givers. And as mothers, the more that we give, the more that we love. Who loves who more? A mom her children, or the children the mother? The children could never love the mother as much as the mother loves the children. For the very fact that she's giving, when you give of yourself, you love. Ahava comes from the word hav, which is to give. So, early on in marriages and early on in kids, the more you give, the more you love. We're not in a marriage to take. We're in a marriage to give. That's how you grow it. Another thing we learn from doing our challah, hafashat challah, is we learn appreciation. And that's very powerful. And whatever we learn, we're teaching. We're emulating. Also, when we do our hafashat challah, we stop and we're grateful. We're grateful for the blessings that we have. So on that note, I want to say that when you come to pray and ask God for things, you can't start with, I need it. No, start with thank you. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my husband's health. Thank you for my beautiful, healthy children. Thank you for the home, the roof we have on our head. Thank you for the job. Thank you for the parnasa. Thank you that we're able to do the holidays bechavod and nice and all that. First, thank you. And then, God, I need a little more. I need an extra room. I need a bigger house. I need another car. It's breaking down. It's not breaking. Whatever it is, but you got to say thank you first. You can't start with, I need it. You have to say thank you first. That's how it works. And, of course, we learned the beautiful lesson that when a woman blends and mixes all these ingredients, they're not much all alone. Would you make sugar alone? Would you have salt alone? Would you have oil alone? Would you have an egg alone? Would you have flour alone? No. But when you mix it all up and you bake it and you make it, it's quite delicious. And a woman mixes the ingredients of her family and her family members and makes it delicious. And it's in our hands. It's in our hands to do so. Okay. So now that we know that we're the architects of our homes, we're the foundation of our homes, let's see what we can do. So in my book, what I did was I prioritized divine living. How to live joyfully. And what I did was, early on in the book, I set out a menu for daily activities for divine living. And we're going to go through them quickly, but you're going to see how powerful it is. We start our day with modani. That means thank you. You wake up, you look into the sky, and you ask right away, you say, thank you, God, for giving me back my soul, not another soul, mine, and giving me a chance to live another day. And I always add in, after years of learning and experience, show me what I need to do to serve you best today. Because you want to live as Ovedet Hashem. You want to be God's servant. You want to be his soldier in the world. That's what you really are. You want to make his will your will. Start off the day that. And you know what ends up happening? You'll get a text or a WhatsApp. Someone just gave birth, they need a meal. Someone needs a lift to the hospital for an appointment and they don't have a car. Someone is not feeling well, we got to read some more Tehillim. You're going to get the answers. And all of these are merits for you and your husband and your family. Because you're building a bank account, a celestial bank account, if you will. When a person is sick, how do we pray for them? We ask their Hebrew name and their mother's Hebrew name. We don't ask what the father's Hebrew name is. We ask what the mother's Hebrew name is. Because she doesn't have to do too much. But everything she does is a merit for her family. That's your power. Second, we want to give tzedakah daily. It's important. And we want to model this. We want to have a tzedakah box in the main room, in the kitchen, in the living room, in the dining room, wherever you would put it. Could be in several rooms, in children's rooms. It's up to you. And model. When your kids are young, you're really lucky you're starting new. Soon, Bezat Hashem will have children. Now you know what to do. I didn't know what to do at the time. I did everything wrong until I started correcting everything. So you'll model it. You'll wake up in the morning and your children will be near you, will be bothering you. Mommy, I want to eat. Mommy, I need this. Or Mommy, You'll smile. You'll go to the window and you'll do your modality. And they're going to think, what's wrong with her? Until they get it. Until they get it. Until they understand it. That's the most important thing to do first thing in the morning. And then you're going to model. You're going to go into the kitchen. You're going to do Tzat Yadayim with a vessel. You're going to say a bracha. You're going to pick up your 10 fingers and you're going to say, Asher Kideshanu, Ali Tzat Yadayim. And one day, when the kids are old enough, you're going to say, just like you have 10 fingers, God put 10 energy into the world. It's the 10 siyot. I want to use the energy, the koch that I'm putting my hands into to serve God. And they're going to learn that. And they're going to remember that. And they're going to talk that way. And you're going to raise the future Jewish people. And that's what you want to do. And before they leave the house, they're going to put tzedakah. And you're going to teach them. The Torah says that tzedakah matzila mimavet. Tzedakah protects one from death. And our sages tell us that if it protects us from death, then it can protect us for anything else that's lesser than death. Like studying your Torah. Right? And that's what we want to teach our kids. We'll show our children how we do our morning prayers even before they go to school. We might decide that we're going to do Nishmat Kol Chai. Maybe in a group, maybe for 40 days, maybe to pray for somebody to get married, for someone to have a child. We might want to do that. We might want to join a Tehillim group, which at the end of this class, if you're willing to take on one chapter, just one little chapter, please let us know. We always need backups. We need ladies in our group. You might want to take on, if you're doing all of the above already, you want to up your game. You always have to be growing, green and growing, not brown and wilting. You always want to be moving up. Might want to start reading Sefer Devarim. Maybe in a group. Maybe just Shabbat. Very powerful. You want to model eating healthfully and exercising. I'm going to make a small note. It might be a sore spot, but I'm going to say it because of my background and my learning in natural health. We don't take care of our health enough. And it's a chilul Hashem, in my opinion. We don't exercise enough because it's not proper. We don't eat right because we have so many simchas and so many yom tovs. And then we have problems. We have health problems. We have issues. And it's our fault. And it's not written in Torah that we have to overindulge. So that's my little peek about we need to stay healthy. Got to teach our kids right. We don't want them to grow up and have a problem. We have to start modeling from when they're young. We definitely want to learn and observe Shmirat HaLashon, and we need to speak about it with our kids. It's not enough that we're learning alone and then everyone around us is not learning. No, you have to share what you're learning so they as well will know what's proper to tell you or what's proper to talk about. And on that note, I just want to say one little thing. We're almost summing up. Don't think that if you're alone in your bedroom with your husband and the door's closed and the kids are sleeping, and you decide to say something bad about a teacher, or about a neighbor, or about a family member, that it doesn't affect your kids. I once learned from a rabbi, and his name is Rabbi Benjamin, and he's still teaching in Yerushalayim, I believe. He said, the words are so powerful that they have energetic effects on the walls in your house. Be very careful what you say, even behind closed doors. I'm asking you to make yourselves the highest possible vessel. And I'm not pretending that it's going to be easy. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to catch yourself. Or, like my kids, Mom, I think that's Lashon Hara. We can't say that. And I'm really happy that they catch me on that. Even it's like a nuance. I didn't mean anything. And my son will say to me right away, Mom, I think that's Lashon Hara. That's what you want. You want your kids to be at that level. You want them to surpass you. But you have to learn it and you have to live it. And not in any particular order. None of these are in any particular order. Look to help a fellow Jew. Maybe every day, maybe every other day, maybe once a week. Purposefully go out to find someone that needs help and help them. Very important. Listen to Torah classes. Listen to my son's Wednesday night class. It's out of this world. And listen to many rabbis. You're going to learn from everybody. Journal your aspirations. Journal. If we can't talk, we can write. We can write about what we want. We can write about what hurts us. We can write about what we want to see better. It's between us and God. And it's very powerful. This is one of my favorites. Jewish meditation. Hitbodedut. This is where, if you do this, you don't have to talk about anybody. You're all talked out. Because you went into your garden or your back balcony and you were outside and you're in the nature and you're talking to God. And you say, Father, I'm losing it. It's too hard. It's too much. I can't do it anymore. I can't hold fort. I need help. And you just talk it out. Everything. All of it. Who's bothering you? Who's at your throat? That you're not sleeping? That the kids are too much? Whatever it is, talk it out. And then just say, please, God, give me strength for another day. And you won't believe what will happen. A lovely neighbor will come by and say, I made extra of this. And you won't have to make dinner that night. Or maybe a neighbor's daughter will come over and says, I want to take the kids to the park. Where did she come from? Because you had to God.
Yeah.
That's how things work. And you need to know that that's comforting. This is comforting. Because if we said we can't say Lashon Hara and everything is almost Lashon Hara, then who are we going to talk to? What am I going to do with my emotions? Channel them. Channel them. And this is a very important one for ourselves and our children. Review your day. Before going to sleep, when you come to say Shema al Mitah, do all of it, like it says in the Siddur. Do all of it. Forgive anyone, any offense during the day. And say sorry for the things that you did wrong. And then write down the people you wronged, because you need to ask them for forgiveness. You can't go around hurting people and then talking to God. Sorry, God, I shouldn't have done that. I was very mean to her. I spoke badly about Dina to Hannah. That's not going to solve anything. Now, there are laws on how to go about that, because if Hannah didn't know you spoke badly about her, don't go telling her, because that's a double dose. So there are ways to do it. But we need to understand that if I was stressed and I yelled at my mom, well, I better call and apologize. Or my mother-in-law, which I love. She's amazing. So, why do I like this review and Shema al Mitah? We all know that it's very important to have a bedtime routine with our kids. Because today everyone is super busy. We're rushing in the morning, we take them off to school, they're gone for 8 hours when they come back. Then we rush to feed them, and we rush to bathe them, and we rush to put them into bed. No. Take a moment. It's not easy, but you have to take a moment. And we didn't talk about technology. We haven't talked about the phones, but we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. So, what I want to leave us with is, we have a big task as the Jewish women in today's generation, but we're up for it. And I invite you to join me in this journey by maybe getting yourself an agenda. And secondly, and even if you don't, to join me on WhatsApp or to follow me on Facebook or on YouTube so that we can continue to learn together. Because that's the key. And just to tie in, do we have a second? Are we tired? Can I just tie in the Parsha? Let me tie in the Parsha, okay? So this Parsha, we see that Yaakov said that it says that he was very joyous the last 17 years in Egypt. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, based on his teaching, that for those 17 years, finally, Yaakov was reunited with all his family. But more than that, he sent Yehuda, ahead of the family while they were gathering all their belongings to assure that they had a study hall for Torah learning. And what protected them from the idolatrous environment of Egypt and all of their ways was the learning of Torah. So this is what's going to save us in our darkness. Because we live amongst the Goyim, and it's a very powerful influence, and it's always in our face. And we have to protect ourselves. And the only protection is to continue to study Torah and to keep our values strong and to do as much as we can and to talk it out with our kids, to empower them with that so that we can bring light into the world and be the nation that we're supposed to be, light unto all the other nations. Be'ezrat Hashem, it should be Zochen. It should be for a schutz for all the people